Welcome to the 78th Golden Globe Awards Stylists Roundtable. The Golden Globes has long celebrated the best in film and television. Over the years, it has also set the stage for every red carpet that follows. I'm Margaret Gardiner, the fashion editor of GoldenGlobes.com. Today, we've gathered the top stylists of the world, the vision makers, to talk about what we'll see at the 78th Golden Globes on NBC on February 28th. Joining me to explore the topic, how to create the red carpet moment in a virtual world, are our Golden Globe ambassadors, Satchel and Jackson Lee, the children of Spike and Tanya Lee, who will introduce our panel. Over to you.
Good morning. First joining us today, we have Brad Goreski, who's dressing nominee Kaylee Cuoco.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, good morning. To be here. Thank you.
Then we have Erica Cloud, who's dressing nominees Dan and Eugene Levy, and Aquafina, who will be presenting.
Hello.
Then we have Andrew Gelwicks, who's dressing the amazing Catherine O'Hara.
Hi.
Hello. And then we have Ilaria Yerbernati, who's dressing Sacha Baron Cohen.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello. Today we also have joining us Sophie Lopez, dressing nominee Kate Hudson.
Hi, everyone.
Good morning. Ava Yermagian, dressing nominee Leslie Odom Jr.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Good morning. And last but not least, Tara Sweenan, dressing nominee Jane Levy.
Hi, guys.
Good morning.
Thank you both so much. You know, Donatella Versace said, fashion is about dreaming and making other people dream. At a time of so many challenges for us all, fashion lifts, it inspires and allows us to escape, to dream of the world that was and the world that will be again. But this Sunday, our stylists are challenged with getting ready for a virtual award show. So please talk to us about styling in the age of social distancing. How much of it is virtual? How will it differ from the Globes in the past? Brad, Erica? Go ahead.
I mean, I think in this realm, you have a little bit more control sometimes over how fabric's going to lie and all of that, because you're not sending someone off to a red carpet. So I think that's been an enjoyable aspect of it, is that you can set the look and, kind of have it in your ideal setting. So that's a little bit different. And then just the idea that I don't know, it's just like having that balance of, if it's appropriate for whatever the event is. And, in the case of the Globes, it is a celebration and it's everybody's work that's being honored. So I think there is, that aspect to it, that you can kind of have it at whatever level you feel like you want to dress up for.
Yeah, I agree with Erica on all of that, especially with this element of being able to kind of control the final look, because once you put your client in a car pre-COVID and they go to the red carpet, unless you're going with them and fluffing the gown and doing that whole thing, it's basically like you're praying that the photo turns out really well. And, this time I also think we have the ability to maybe do something maybe a little bit more extravagant that we wouldn't necessarily do on a normal carpet, because we will be in their homes or wherever they're doing it virtually. So I think there are definitely pluses and minuses to this. We won't have the roaring crowds. We won't have the thousands of flashballs. We won't have that kind of frenzy. But I think in terms of approaching it from a styling angle, there's definitely things that we can put our clients in that they wouldn't necessarily want to sit in a car, walk a carpet, walk through the venue, sit at the venue, wait for their award, do the press afterwards. So I think we can kind of be a little bit more imaginative this year.
I think what the audience really wants to know is, how are you doing this? We're supposed to be social distancing. How are you accessing the clothes? How are you getting it to them? Talk about the nitty gritty of it. Maybe Andrew and Ava can dive in.
Go for it.
Well, I was going to mention that, there are the constraints due to COVID, which is we're getting tested on the daily, sometimes multiple times daily. Some PR showrooms are closed. Access to clothes is more challenging. But I think for me, it's more important to be mindful of the tone of what we're putting out there and be conscious of the fact that people are facing real struggles. And although we want to give them beautiful moments and escapism, we still want to make sure that we're sensitive to what the world is going through.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think in terms of the technical aspect of how is this actually working in the time of COVID and social distancing, for me at least, I think the vast majority of my fittings the past year have really been virtual. So it's very kind of unusual not having that very hands-on, tactical feeling with the clothes being there and kind of moving the fabric around, or just really having that kind of room to play with your client and the clothes right there. Whereas now it's really working off of selfies and videos and photos where it's, just nothing that really would kind of you'd feel as comfortable with in, a normal situation. But yeah, still just lots of photos and videos.
So just to follow up on that, Sophie and Tara, when you choose something, I know sometimes I fall in love with something and then I put it on and I don't like the way it looks. How are you dealing with your clients in that so that they feel beautiful? Do they try a number of clothes first? How are you managing that?
Well, I generally always have a few options for every client. So, but obviously, with everything that's going on, it's less options than I would normally take for anything. I haven't actually even been doing fittings. We've been obviously for the Golden Globes, I'm doing a fitting, but for other promo and things like that, we've scrapped fittings completely. And we've just been, sending looks on the day, and it's actually been going pretty well. It's a different way of working. But again, with the way that the press is happening differently virtually, we are able to cheat in ways that we couldn't if it was an in-person event. In terms of if the fit's not quite right, we can use, we can cheat it from the back. We can safety pin things, and that if the hemline, we don't have to worry about people tripping over their hemlines and things like that. So in some ways, you don't have that level of comfort that you would have when you have a fitting and your look is set. But in other ways, you don't have, it's not the same level of necessity in terms of the fit of the garment and all of that stuff. So
Tara?
Sort of that's how
well, in this case, Jane Levy, my nominee, is actually shooting and quarantining with her cast in Vancouver. So there wasn't even an option of fitting her in person. So due to the fact that we sort of had to get clothes quickly internationally and figure it all out, for me, it was actually kind of nice because we were able to, I sent her photos from numerous designers, sketches, what have you, and we quickly narrowed it down to just 4. And so normally when I would do a fitting and have, 40, 50 dresses, it was really kind of nice. You sort of pray when the box goes up, that, one of them will work, but luckily it did. And it was really, to be honest, I feel like the stress level has definitely been minimized this year in a lot of ways, which I'm very grateful for. It's definitely, like everyone's saying, it's harder when the tangibility element is not there, because even from photos, it's hard to distinguish where there might need a little nip and tuck or something, you know, but it's been kind of nice, actually.
So let's go to the actual night, because it's going to be on Zoom. It's going to be Head and Shoulders. So Iaria, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Last year, Sacha Baron Cohen wore this velvet suit. There's this tendency for guys to wear brooches now, which I absolutely adore. Does this change the emphasis because it's a head and shoulders shot? Will guys actually be in shorts below and a tux jacket, or women be in sweats and slides?
No. I mean, you know, for Sasha, he's actually quarantined in Australia. I had a custom suit made from a designer based on the measurements from his custom suit we did last Golden Globes, because he was nominated last year. And so we just had one suit made. It was custom. They sent two of them, actually, sent them over there. It's a full look. And what I'm asking is just that they take some full photos that we can have to give to the brand and for me to post on social, so that we have a full look. You know, it's to be sort of respectful to the brand who went through the trouble of doing all this, so they're not just getting like this sort of nothing. You know, they're getting something out of it if they're getting a photo. So his wife will be taking photos and sending them to me.
So let's ask about that.
The full look, shoes, socks, everything, the whole thing. But we definitely are going a little less, you know, out there than we would and in person, just because he is sitting in his living room, and it is a little ridiculous to see somebody in like a bow tie and this whole thing. So, you know, we're going a little bit less, you know, we're not doing pocket squares and certain like over the top details that we would normally do on a carpet.
And for the women, what are we doing? Are we concentrating more on hair? Are we doing more jewels? How are we making this more interesting? Maybe Erica and Andrew.
Andrew,
yeah, I mean, so much what Ilaria said, I'm still very much focusing on the full look, just for the designers that have sent or who she'll end up be wearing, to give them the respect they deserve for blending or creating such a beautiful piece. I mean, that being said, you know, for the last season of Schitt's Creek, and to such a fashion icon as Moira Rose, the send-off, you know, would probably, I might do a little bit different if it was a full red carpet. But again, you know, I think we still want to be cognizant that this is a celebration. It's paying respect to the Globes and the moment and the achievements of everyone. So still dressing up and having fun and giving that, you know, fabulous moment that everyone, you know, wants to see. And definitely paying, you know, a little bit more attention to kind of how it will be received in the profile.
Aquafina's presenting, so she's going to be at the venue, so it has to be a full look. So it's going to be, you know, jewelry, clothing, shoes, the whole thing. So it's
so last year she looked fantastic in this black and white Dior, and she generally likes to be, I think, quite detailed in her clothing. Has this changed at all for this year's Golden Globes?
I mean, it's a little different because everybody being remote and doing fittings not in person is a little, it's not less detailed, but you definitely have a harder edit. So I would say just making that a little bit more concise has been helpful, but I love all the little details. So I still enjoy picking out the jewelry and even, you know, the shoes if they're not I'm not even sure how they're showing presenters, but it might, maybe it is waist up. But either way, I think that's like, to Ilaria's point, just our job is to fine tune everything. So whether it's a press look or the Globes or whatever it may be, it's our creative outlet to do so.
Satchel and Jackson, you're going to be on pressure to be in front of the camera, and you have the expertise of all these wonderful people. What kind of pressure does it place on you? Are you having to think about, do I have to wear a mask? what tone to set. Talk a little about the things you considered in making your choices.
Sure. I mean, I think for me, the thing that I've been most aware of is the fact that this kind of feels like a coming out moment for me anyway. Like we are, we're not really like public people. So to be in front, on stage is kind of a big deal. So I just want to set the tone and like kind of like really like get specific about not the character, but like, kind of like distilling like who I am as a person in this one look as much as possible. So I think that's been like the challenge because it's hard to do. Like what's the right look that really, is easily identifiable to other people so they can look at that and be like, oh yes, I know who this person is just by this outfit. But it's been really fun to try to figure out kind of like, that process and find what that look is. We're wearing Gucci, which is really amazing. And we've used them a lot. So it's been a really good, fun process.
Yeah, for me, it was really important to have a big hand in the actual design process of what we were wearing. I've designed a couple of sneakers for Brand Jordan, and I felt like it'd be fun and cool to kind of help design or to design our outfit. So I kind of spoke to Gucci and was like, I want to do this with you guys, but honestly, only if I could have a good hand in the design process. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. So they were fortunate enough to really help us bring our creations to life. And I'm excited to show it on Sunday.
I also wanted to thank you. I also wanted to ask you, when a nominee or presenter has an association with a particular house, like Tara with Kristen, we've done 2 press conferences with her and she looks spectacular. Does that limit or broaden your ability when you work with her? What kind of challenges, if any, does that present?
No real challenges. I mean, she has a contract that she needs to fulfill, and that's just about it. Beyond that, I'm still free to do, whatever works for us. So yeah, no, it's quite lovely actually, being able to know that you have that, opportunity to lean in on as much as possible. So we love it.
Ava?
For myself, I feel like this year the stakes are much higher because there's been sort of a vacuum with no carpets really happening. So there's going to be a lot of eyes on these carpets. I'm dressing Leslie Odom Jr. this year, who was in One Night in Miami. And his performance really moved me. He's a poem in the film. I mean, he's amazing. And so I just really wanted to honor the tone of the film, and they talk about cultural upheaval in the 60s and a cultural awakening, which is something I think all of us faced this last year. So I want to play into what the guys did, not to over-intellectualize the styling, but they were change makers in their time and they were irreverent. And I want to bring that into his look on the carpet.
Sophie, what about you? What are you doing with your client?
We don't know yet. We are very last minute on this one. Hopefully we'll have a dress at some point. But no, we don't know. We're like an open book right now. So I'm actually going to do that after this, and then I'll know more. But right now, we don't know. We don't know yet.
That's kind of terrifying to me that it's a few days before the Globes and you don't yet know what the client's going to wear. How do you?
Well, I've done it before. And I've also I'm working with Kate this year. I've worked with her for 10 years. And I feel like once you have that that's why, like I say, we haven't even been doing fittings. And that's because I've worked with Kate for 10 years. So I wouldn't do that with every client. But with a client that you have one of those relationships with, which is, it's not every client is the same way, but we generally know each other so well that it doesn't stress me out. Like I slept fine last night. So I think, we have what we need, and hopefully there's a dress on Sunday.
Yaria, where are you in the process? And how do you meet the client's needs? Is there a certain silhouette that you go for? What should we expect? And what do you look for so that we at home can look for the same kinds of things?
Me?
Yes.
Is that me? Oh, sorry. Well, like I said, and I've been dressing Sasha for a long time, and he's been nominated a few years in a row now. So we've been doing these custom suits and tuxes for him for a while. So it was really more a matter of picking the fabric out, picking a color that would look good on screen and, that was flattering. Like we had a beautiful light colored one. It just washed him out. So we went with a kind of richer color. But yeah, we had it made. The designers made it really quick and we shipped it there. We had a virtual fitting. They're in Australia, so the time difference, it's like in the middle of the night for me. But yeah, we did a virtual fitting. We had a tailor there. And that's it. You tried it on. We picked it out. We picked the shirt. We talked a lot about how, like I was saying before, how dressy do we want to go? Do we do a bow tie? Do we do all these little details? And I think ultimately, because we don't know what everyone else is kind of doing, we decided to go a little bit more on the cocktail side versus the black tie side. But because I'm like, you can't fault a man in a suit. He's going to look great no matter what, and I'd rather he be a little underdressed than the most overdressed person there, especially as a guy, you kind of wanted to feel like a little bit, relaxed. So, but it's beautiful and it's a beautiful color and it's a full thing and we're done. We did it. We tailored it and now it can relax.
Can't wait to see. Brad, what about you? Do you look at what a client has worn in the past and try and stay within the lane? Or do you reinvent the wheel and go in a totally different direction?
I usually like to go with what makes the client happiest. So, unless it's something that's like super, super similar, then I'll stray them away from this. But, this is a big nomination for Kaylee. She was an EP on the show as well as the lead and the flight attendant. And she just said she wanted to have fun. She's like, I just want to have fun. I want to have a good time. And, with her, the fitting process is she warned me when we first started working together that she doesn't really love trying on clothes. So I get 10 to 15 minutes maybe. And then it's like tail light, she's gone. So I have to strategize which ones are going to be the hero dresses. And then, it goes from there. And she let me try on a few more since it was the Globes. And I think we landed in a spot that she's super, super happy about. And I can't wait for people to see. And, I think it's like Ava was saying, living during this time right now and also being very conscious of what is going on in the world. But then also on the flip side of that too, having a little bit of fun right now and bringing a little bit of glitz and sparkle, back into the world, I think is also a really great thing to be doing during award season. So
I think the audience is hungry for it. Andrew, I want to just talk to you quickly because you've done such a great job with Catherine and you've actually gone with color. We're so often more established, more mature actresses are often clothed in fade into the background colors. And so talk a little about what you've done with her because it's rather wonderful.
Thank you. I think honestly, that's just not my style and it's not Catherine's style either. We very much like to have fun with fashion, to experiment and play. And to us, age doesn't really make a deciding factor in that. So we really approach it that way. It's just what feels good in this moment. And I think we like to play with color, or even if it's, a black and white, how do we incorporate that into something that feels different or not just traditional. So it's nice to have to feel like you have some room to play and experiment. and not feel really confined to anything.
Erica, what about you? What can we expect from your nominee?
Well, Dan's a big fashion lover, so we will definitely like to have fun with it and be a little bit outside of the box.
He's been wearing bright clothes recently from Dior. So are you going to go that direction, or?
There's color involved. Again, we haven't done our fitting yet because he's in Toronto and I've just been kind of coordinating when that's happening. So yeah, I mean, but it's not our first rodeo, so it's kind of comes with the job. You just either you have 3 weeks and you're done, and otherwise you have it the night before. I've done a Globes fitting at 2 a.m. and we were done at 4 a.m., the morning of Sunday. So it just comes with the territory. But however, that said, again, what Avo said as well about knowing the tone, it's trying to walk the fine line of enjoying the fashion aspect, but also not being completely over the top in a certain way where it doesn't seem like you are aware.
Tara, you didn't get a chance to say what you were going to do with Jane. Do you go a little retro with her? I know you use either monochromatic colors or contrasting. So what can we expect?
This year we're doing more of a timeless, effortless glamour. It's a little bit more relaxed, but it's definitely, a nod to, old Hollywood. She does wear vintage very well. It is not vintage this year, but yeah, it's very classic, very beautiful. And I can't wait for you guys to see it.
The red carpet has been a tool to communicate, and more so this year than ever before. Asians have been targeted, Black Lives Matters on everybody's lips. So many important issues. How do you decide as stylists what to incorporate, how to make a statement, or do you move away from it completely? Iliara?
It's interesting, as Sasha's such a political sort of like involved person already, but we're sort of just we haven't really been focusing on that, and we've just really been trying to like navigate this whole new world of virtual and fittings and non-carpet, and sort of just focusing on like how are we doing that, and how do we pay respect to the brands that are helping us and all these things. And we haven't really honestly like talked about that much. We've just been focusing on like what looks good on him and everything. I think if we were doing a red carpet in person, that would be like a huge part of the conversation. But it hasn't really been like a thing with these virtual kind of fittings, because we're even just trying to like just get through trying to figure out how to do a fitting without me being there, and are we doing photos, are we sitting, like how does this work? And so we've kind of been distracted with that kind of
Do you know who he's wearing it? Not.
Yeah. No, he's already dressed and it's been done. Yes.
Do you want to share that?
No.
Brad, what
gotta have
about
some surprises.
Brad and Ava, why don't you add to the messaging moment? Ava?
Me first?
Yeah.
Sorry, the question again, just about the message.
Yes.
I just think it's about it being true, about you feel. I think if the intention is there, then it's going to come across in the styling. I don't want to force anything with what we say. I think the talent's performances speak for themselves. I think it's nice to give a nod to, for me, I'd like to give a little bit of a nod to the era of the film, to the 60s. And I also think that even though we do have these constraints, it's nice that we have a chance for more creativity, because I feel like for most of the stylists, probably you would agree, whenever we have constraints on jobs, we don't have a piece that shows up, etc. It's a moment where you have sometimes the most magical photos. So again, like this, I think there's a chance for people to seize the moment and have a renaissance. with these images.
Are you going with a watch or a brooch or a statement piece?
We are considering, I think I'm being mindful of, again, the tone this year. Last year I did Nick Jonas for the carpet, and he wore a $1 million Bulgari watch. I think that's something I would shy away from this year.
That's
but
what I
we
was
still want to,
asking.
yes, but we still want to have some fun.
Okay. What about you, Erica? How do you straddle the glamour that the audience really wants to see with the tone of the times we're living in?
Well, I think, I mean, as Ilaria said about probably not a bow tie maybe per se, and add a different element to still keep it elevated. But again, back to the technical aspect, because for Dan and Eugene, they're both going to be on Zoom. In order for it to seem a little bit out of the ordinary, we might do some accessories just so that it's, you know, in frame and it's adding a little bit of personality.
Andrew?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it really just depends on the conversation with the client and what is their comfort level. Some people, you know, I mean, are very comfortable just kind of doing a gown moment, you know, if they're in their living room, whereas the way Catherine and I kind of approached it is similar to what we did for Emmys, where we did a Valentino dress, but we paired it with a pair of combat boots instead of the heels, whereas we would not necessarily do that for a normal red carpet. So it's just figuring out what the comfort level is, where you're in this environment, and if there is messaging that you want to do in terms of political or social, I tend to just really take the cue from the client and what they're focusing on, what they're passionate about, and how vocal or not vocal they want to be. So I think it's really just at the direction of who you're dressing in terms of how you want to approach those sometimes very sensitive matters.
So for us in the press, we want a picture of you full length. We want to see the shoes and the hair. Have you got an agreement with your clients to take a picture like that and maybe share it with us so that we can not only create a red carpet moment, but see the full outfit? Sophie?
I think that, I mean, there's no specific agreement, but I feel like since we've all gone to all this trouble and everybody's got out of bed and put a frock on, I think that they'll probably take a picture, you know, because I feel like anybody that that's nominated or that is gonna show up tomorrow, I think that we all want a memory. This is a really weird time, and it's just, this is a strange globes, and I think that even, you know, 10, 20 years from now, this virtual globe is going to be one that you'll never forget because the circumstances are so out of the ordinary. So I think that we'll for sure have a photo, but we haven't signed a contract.
May I ask on behalf of the press, please have your clients take a full-length photo. I do want to just ask you in more broad terms, when you begin with an award show like the Golden Globes, do you sit down with makeup and hair? Do you have pictures that you send to your clients and say, let's do this, let's do that? Or are you fed by the clothes? How does the look come together? Tara?
I think it depends on each glam squad, to be honest. I tend to sort of take a back seat because the way I see it, you know, I don't want to interfere in their art. So I want them to bring to the table whatever they can. That's what they're there for. There are times where if a client asks, I'll bring inspiration or what have you. But generally speaking, I tend to find that most, you know, hair, makeup, nail, you name it, artists are very well versed in what's going to work with the outfit. You know, the outfit tends to be the first thing that is chosen, so they sort of have to go on after that and make it all come together. So for me, unless there's something very specific that I have a vision for, I tend to let them, you know, do their thing until there's a need to possibly step in. That's usually the only time I really get involved. But for me, it's a beautiful thing to see it all come to life. And there's nothing better when it all gels and it's, you know, it's beautiful.
Fantastic. It's been great talking to you all. As we wrap up, I'm going to ask you a question and just please go around and all answer it. Worst moment, crisis moment, have you ever had one on the red carpet? And could you give our best advice to those at home to try and emulate your incredible creations that you make? Maybe start with Ilyara.
I haven't really had any disasters, although I did before an award show one time, you know, go into birth.
That's rather big.
I had to run to the hospital and we were dressing like 7 people. But the one thing I just want to say that hasn't been addressed that I think is interesting about this year is all of us are dressing like 1 or 2 people this year versus most of us normally are dressing like 10 people to the Golden Globes, you know, because there's presenters and nominees and stuff. So that's a really sort of different aspect of this as well. But anyway, but going back to your question, yes, that's the only thing I can really think of. We were dressing 7 people. I had to run to the hospital, give birth, and my assistants had to take over. And it was just, you know, typical of all the days.
Amazing. Brad?
I've never had to leave to give birth on an award show. So Laurie has me there. That's amazing. I'm like, my worst situation's a broken zipper, but after like your water breaking on like the day of the Oscars, like nothing else. And then what's and in terms of like what people can do at home, I mean, listen, right now, the way that style has changed and, you know, the lack of places we have to go to dress up and, you know, there's no events. We're very much individually, probably still at home in some sort of quarantine or lockdown, wherever you are, some sort of state of that. I say if you're wearing pants with like not an elastic waist on them, you're doing great. So, you are wearing jeans even, maybe a dress pant, how dare you, a skirt, whatever. Like if you are doing something more than an elastic waistband, you're doing great.
I won't tell you what my waistband looks like at the moment. Erica, maybe, have you had any disasters or last moments?
I've had to sew somebody into a dress before because why are invisible zippers just not strong enough? They just truly, and that's, I think we've all probably been in that place at one point or the other. And, you know, I can't, I'm not a seamstress, but it's just kind of logic how you do it. So I've had to do that before. And then for people at home, I've seen people be more creative on Zooms because they are just in their house. And so they're playing dress up in their own closets and, you know, having fun. They wear something they haven't worn in a long time or put on a crazy earring. I don't know. That's what I would say. Have fun with it.
Andrew?
I would say mine is, it was last year or 2 years ago, my client had been filming and so we couldn't do a fitting and he arrived, his plane landed 30 minutes before the carpet started. And so that's when we did our fitting. And luckily we've been working together a long time and he like had seen photos, we already narrowed it down, but that was awful. That was stressful.
And I'm sure nobody could tell.
I hope not. Luckily there was, you know, everything fit and that took a few years off my life though. But in terms of at home, I think it's been fun to see just people kind of what Erica was saying, kind of go into their closet and pull out things that they haven't maybe worn for a while. And I know I've done that myself. So I think it's fun to see people experimenting a little bit more.
Avo, and if we could just tighten it up because we're starting to run out of time here. I've been so involved with these great questions.
As far as disasters, knock on wood, I haven't had any yet, but that's all due to double stick tape and a prayer.
Sophie?
Broken zipper, you know, same as everybody, but yeah, nothing drastic. So yeah.
Tara?
Same.
And the last piece of advice to those watching?
Ooh, take the moment, take 2020 to, at least when concerned with fashion. For me, you know, I've always been a champion of sustainable eco fashion. My advice is to just really try and, you know, less is more these days. You know, try and use your consumer power to evoke good with fashion however you can, whether that's, you know, re-wearing stuff from your closet, getting creative with, you know, what you've got, or just shop with purpose, and always feel good about yourself. That's the key to all of it, right?
That's a great note. Thank you to everyone, to our Golden Globe ambassadors, to our panel of experts, and for the incredible work of art that you create on the red carpet. We cannot wait to be inspired when we tune in to watch the Golden Globes live on NBC on February 28th. Please join us for our official pre-show, HFPA Presents Globes Countdown Live, which will take place on Twitter. The 90-minute countdown will be live from the Beverly Hilton Hotel, and you can catch us at Golden Globes for the Twitter handle. Hope to see you there, and thanks again for participating. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.